China has a city that looks like it comes from the year 3000. In this city, a passenger train drives right through the middle of a place where people live. Not next to it, not under it. The train goes in one side of the building and comes out the other side. People sleep on the floors above it. They eat dinner on the floors below it, and they barely even hear it. That same city has roads that stack up 5 levels high. The roads twist around like a roller coaster made of concrete. The city has a train station carved deep inside a mountain. It has a building that sits flat on top of 4 towers, floating 250 meters above the ground, like a spaceship that parked in the sky. If you try to use your phone to find your way around, your phone will say you have arrived. But you might be 6 floors too low, or 6 floors too high. The city is so tall and so stacked that regular maps just give up. This is not a movie. This is not a drawing of what the future might look like. This is a real place where real people live right now. The city is called Chongqing, and it is home to more than 30 million people. While most cities on Earth build flat and wide, this one went a totally different way. It built up. It built down. It built sideways. It built through buildings and inside mountains and over rivers. If you like videos like this, please hit the like button. It takes a lot of work to make these videos, and a like really helps. Also subscribe so you do not miss the next one point. What you are about to see is how millions of people ended up living inside what might be the wildest city ever built. And the people who built it are not done yet. They are still adding more layers. But to understand how this city got so crazy, you need to start with the one thing that makes everyone who visits stop and stare. The train that lives inside an apartment building. Picture this. You are walking down a street. You hear a train coming. You look up, expecting to see a train track running above the buildings on tall poles. That would be normal. A lot of cities have trains that run up in the air. But instead, you see something that makes no sense. The train goes straight into the 6th floor of a tall apartment building. It goes in one side and comes out the other side. And people live in that building. They live on the floors above the train. They live on the floors below the train. The train just rolls through their home like it is the most normal thing in the world. This is real. It is called the Liziba Station, and it is in the middle of Chongqing. Here is how it happened. The city was building a new train line to help people get around. The planners needed the track to go through a certain area, but a 19-story apartment building was already standing right where the track needed to go. The apartments were already built. Real people were already living in them. In most cities, this would be a huge problem. The city would have 2 choices. Either change the train route to go somewhere else, or knock down the building, pay all the people to leave, and build the track where the building used to be. Both choices are bad. Changing the route means the train does not go where it is needed most. Knocking down homes means people lose where they live. But the engineers in Chongqing thought of something no one else would try. They decided to put the train station and the building together as one big structure. The train would pass right through the middle of the building, and people would keep living in it at the same time. To make this work, they left the 6th, 7th, and 8th floors completely open. No one lives on those 3 floors. Instead, those floors hold the train tracks and the platform where people get on and off the train. The floors above are normal apartments. The floors below are normal apartments. The train just uses the middle. You might think the noise would drive people crazy, but the engineers thought about that. They put in special materials that block sound really well. The train noise inside the apartments is about as loud as a washing machine running in the next room. That is not very loud at all. They also built in a system that stops the building from shaking when the train passes through, so the people do not feel the train moving. The people who live there say they hardly even notice the trains anymore. It just becomes part of normal life. The train comes through, and they keep doing whatever they were doing. It is like living near a road where cars pass by. You get used to it. Here is something even more surprising. The apartments in that building are actually popular. People want to live there. The fact that a train goes through the building has become something people think is fun and different. If you live there, you always have a cool story to tell your friends. The people who sell apartments use the train as a fun selling point when they show the place to new people. This one station tells you a lot about how Chongqing thinks about building things. When a problem would make another city stop and give up, this city finds a way to keep going. They do not knock things down. They do not change their plans. They just build through it. But the train station is just one small piece of a city that has done this kind of wild building thousands of times. The next thing they did with bridges is even harder to believe, and there are way more of them than you would ever guess. A city with 15,000 bridges. Think about how many bridges you have seen in your whole life. Maybe 10, maybe 50. Now think about this. Chongqing has 15,000 bridges. That is not a typo. 15,000 bridges inside a single city. Think about it this way. If you crossed one bridge every single day, it would take you more than 41 years to cross all of them. Most countries do not even have that many bridges in their entire land. Why does one city need so many bridges? The answer is about the land. Chongqing sits in a spot where two big rivers come together. The Yangtze River flows through the city. So does the Jialing River. On top of that, the whole city is built on mountains. The ground goes up and down constantly. There are steep hills, deep gaps, and water everywhere. A normal city on flat land can just make a grid of streets. You lay them out in straight lines and everything connects. But Chongqing cannot do that. The land is too bumpy and too steep. A straight road is almost impossible in many parts of the city. So instead of trying to flatten the land, the builders worked with it. They put bridges over the rivers. They put bridges over the valleys. They put bridges over other bridges. They put bridges that connect to buildings at the 20th or 30th floor, because the road on one side happens to be that high up. In some parts of the city, you can stand on a bridge and look down. You will see 5 more layers of roads stacked below you. Each layer is carrying cars and trucks at a totally different height. It looks like someone took a normal city and stacked it up like a layer cake. The Dongshuimen Bridge is a good example of how Chongqing makes everything do more than one thing. This bridge has a platform built right into it, where people can walk out and look straight down at the water far below. The bridge is not just for getting across, it is also a place people go to see the view and take photos. Then there is the Kaohsiunmen Bridge. It is one of the longest arch bridges on the whole planet. It is 932 meters long. That is almost as long as 10 football fields put end to end. It connects 2 big parts of the city that would be cut off by the river without it. The Qiansemen Bridge is another wild one. It is 150 meters above the river below. That is higher than a 40-story building. The top part of the bridge carries a train. The bottom part carries cars. So the bridge does 2 jobs at the same time. At night, both of these bridges light up with colored lights that change and move, making the whole riverfront look like a giant light show. What makes all these bridges so amazing is how they fit into the city. Some bridges connect right into the sides of buildings, hooking up with floors that are at the right height. Other bridges join roads that sit at totally different levels on the mountains. The bridges make it possible to move around the city without having to climb up and down all the hills. They are the reason the city works at all. But bridges are just one way Chongqing deals with its crazy landscape. The city also did something with its subway system that changes what you think is possible underground, and it makes getting around harder than you might expect. The city where GPS gives up. If you opened a map app on your phone in Chongqing, it would tell you where to go. You would follow the directions. You would walk to the spot, and then your phone would say you have arrived. But you would look around and see nothing that matches where you are trying to go. That is because in Chongqing, being at the right spot on the map does not mean you are at the right place. Your phone uses GPS to find where you are. GPS tells your phone your position on the map. But GPS only works in two directions. It tells you how far north or south you are and how far east or west you are. What it does not tell you is how high up you are. In a flat city, that does not matter because everything is on the ground. But Chongqing is not flat. In Chongqing, your destination might be 6 floors above you or 6 floors below you, and your phone has no idea. This means the same spot on the map could have 4 different street levels stacked on top of each other. Each level has its own shops, its own doors, and its own roads. So when someone says, "I am here," it means almost nothing. Which here? The here that is up high, or the here that is down low? Food delivery people have the hardest job in the city because of this. They get an order and follow their phone to the right spot. But when they arrive, they might be on the wrong level. The restaurant could be 5 floors above them or 5 floors below. Delivery companies had to change their apps to work in this city. They added information about which floor and which level to use. The drivers have to learn the city in a way that no one else in the world has to learn it. Some apartment buildings have doors on multiple floors. Each door opens to a different street at a different height. You could walk into what feels like the ground floor of a building, get in an elevator, go down, and come out on what is labeled the 20th floor of the building next door. The whole idea of ground level does not really work here. There is not just one ground level, there are several. The subway system makes things even more wild. Some subway stations are built deep inside mountains. The trains do not just go next to the mountains, they go through the solid rock. The tunnels were carved out of the stone itself. One of these stations is near a building called Hongyadong, which is an 11-story building that hangs on the side of a cliff. It looks like it should fall off, but it does not. Hongyadong is built in an old style of Chinese building that uses stilts to hold up the structure. But in Chongqing, they took that idea and made it huge. The building goes down the cliff in steps. Each level has places to eat, shops, and places to look at art. You can walk in at the top, go down 11 floors of stairs and small bridges, and when you walk out the bottom, you are standing next to the river. You look up and see the whole building above you. It messes with your brain because you thought you were at the bottom the whole time, but there was even more below you. Getting around a city like this is something no map can fully solve. But as crazy as the ground level is, the city also built something even wilder up in the air, and it looks like nothing you have ever seen before. A spaceship parked on top of the towers. There is a group of buildings in Chongqing called Raffles City. From some angles, it looks like a giant spaceship came down from the sky, landed on top of 4 tall towers, and just stayed there. The complex has 8 towers total. On top of 4 of them, there is a long, flat building that sits across all 4 towers like a bridge in the sky. It is called the Crystal, and it is 300 meters long. It sits about 250 meters above the ground. That is higher than a 70-story building. Inside the Crystal, there are things you would normally find on the ground. There are places to eat, there are shops, there are gardens with plants and trees. There is even a swimming pool. All of this is floating in the air above the city, held up by the towers below. There is also a glass floor where you can look straight down through your feet at the ground far below. If you are afraid of heights, this is not the place for you. You can see the tiny cars and people on the streets below, looking like ants. On a clear day, you can see for miles and miles in every direction. The whole city spreads out below you, and you can see the rivers winding through the mountains and the buildings going on and on. The swimming pool is the part that makes people do a double take. When you swim in it, there is nothing but sky and clouds around you. The water meets the edge of the pool, and then it is just open air below. The photos people take look like they were made on a computer, but they are real. People actually swim up there. The building was very hard to make. The crystal weighs thousands and thousands of tons. All of that weight has to be held up by the 4 towers under it. The engineers who designed it had to think about a lot of things. Wind is a big one. At 250 meters up, the wind can push very hard. Tall buildings also move a little bit when the wind blows. They sway back and forth just a small amount, like a tree in a breeze. The engineers had to make sure the crystal could move with the towers without cracking or breaking. They used a system of steel supports that let it flex and shift with the towers. It took years of planning and testing to figure out how to make it safe and strong. What makes this building special is what it says about how Chongqing thinks. Most cities build tall towers and stop there. The top of the tower is just empty air. Nobody uses it. Nobody thinks about it. But Chongqing looks at that empty air and says, why not put something there? They put a whole building on top of their buildings. They made new space where there was nothing before. Instead of building wider, they built into the sky and then filled the sky with more buildings. But even this is not the most mind-bending thing in the city. The roads and how people get around are on a whole different level of crazy, and somehow they work better than you would ever think. Roads that spiral like a roller coaster. The Huangjiuan flyover is what happens when you take a normal highway intersection and make it as hard as possible. It has 5 levels of roads all twisted together in a giant spiral shape. It has 20 different ramps. 20. People who live in Chongqing call it the most complicated intersection in the world, and they are probably right. If you take a wrong turn on this flyover, you could end up far away from where you were going. The roads loop around and around like a spring. From above, it looks like a giant concrete spiral. But here is the crazy part. It actually works. Traffic moves through it. People get where they need to go. During the busiest time of day, thousands and thousands of cars go through these spiraling roads without big traffic jams. Why does something so complicated actually work? It is because the roads are doing many jobs at the same time. They connect highways to local streets. They deal with the mountains that make the ground go up and down very fast. And they link parts of the city that are at totally different heights. A single intersection might need to connect a road at the bottom of a hill to a road that is 100 meters higher up. At the same time, it has to handle cars coming from 3 other directions. It is a giant puzzle, and the engineers solved it by letting the roads follow the shape of the land instead of fighting it. Traffic experts from other countries have come to Chongqing just to study how these roads work. They want to know how something that looks so messy can be so organized. The answer is that it was planned very carefully. The roads were designed to match the mountains, not flatten them. Every ramp and every level has a purpose. But the city did not stop at crazy roads. Chongqing also built something you would never expect to find in a city. It built the longest escalator system in the world. It is called the Crown Escalator, and it is more than 100 meters long. It goes straight up the side of a mountain. Instead of walking up hundreds of stairs, you just stand on the escalator and it carries you up. And because Chongqing never does anything halfway, they did not build just one of these. They built dozens of them all over the city. Some of them go through tunnels carved into the rock of the mountains. Some go past waterfalls. Some run right next to highways. They are enclosed in tunnels with lights and air conditioning, so you are comfortable the whole time. Some of the escalators connect to each other. You ride one up, walk a short distance, then get on another one that takes you even higher. The longest route uses 3 different escalator systems. Together, they can take you from the bottom of the hill by the river all the way to the top of the neighborhood. That is more than 300 meters of climbing, all done while you just stand there. For older people and anyone who has trouble walking, these escalators change everything. What used to be a long, hard climb up hundreds of steps is now a short, easy ride. It takes a few minutes instead of wearing you out. It is like an amusement park ride that is also public transportation. All of this becomes even more amazing when the sun goes down and the whole city turns into something that looks like it came out of a science fiction movie. A city that lights up the night. When it gets dark in Chongqing, something amazing happens. Millions of lights turn on all over the city. Every building, every bridge, and every tower starts to glow. The two rivers that flow through the city act like giant mirrors. They reflect all the lights back up into the sky. The whole city looks like it is floating in space. It is the kind of view that makes you forget you are looking at a real place and not a painting. The lights are not just turned on and left alone. They are shows that happen every single night. The buildings along the river all work together like a team. A pattern might start on one building, then move to the next building, and then ripple all the way down the row of towers. It looks like the buildings are passing a message to each other using light. Sometimes the displays show old Chinese art with dragons and flowers. Sometimes they show shapes and colors that move and change. During holidays, the shows get even bigger and better. Swarms of drones fly in the sky above the city, making shapes in the air that match the lights on the buildings below. The drones and the buildings work together to make a show that uses the whole sky. Thousands of people come to the river every night just to watch the lights. The Hongyadong building, the 11-story building on the cliff that we talked about before, becomes extra beautiful at night. It lights up with thousands of golden lights that shine off the water. People take photos from all over, and those photos have made this one of the most famous spots in all of China. The mix of old-style buildings and new technology creates a look you cannot find anywhere else. It is part old and part new at the same time. There is also the Yangtze River Cableway. This is a cable car that goes across the river on a long wire. The cars hold up to 50 people at once. The ride takes about 5 minutes. During that time, you are hanging high above the water. You can see boats below you and tall buildings all around you. At night, riding the cable car feels like flying through a dream. The whole city is glowing below and around you, and you are floating right through the middle of all of it. All of these things together make Chongqing a place that feels different from every other city on Earth. More than 30 million people live in its area. About 9 million live in the main city part. The people who built this city had to deal with mountains and rivers that would make most city builders give up. But instead of giving up, they turned every problem into a reason to try something new. The way the city is built straight up actually helps in some ways. People can get places faster because they go up or down instead of having to travel a long way across. More people fit in a smaller area, which means less spread and more closeness. And the city is still growing, still building, still adding more layers to the pile. What it will look like in 10 more years is hard to even guess. But if the past tells us anything, it will be something no one has ever seen before. If you liked this look at Chongqing and want to see more like it, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. There are more videos on the screen right now if you want to keep watching. So here is a question for you. If a city like Chongqing is already building the future right now, what do you think is stopping the rest of the world from catching up? Is it money? Is it big ideas? Or are people just too used to doing things the old way? Let me know in the comments.